Welcome back, everybody. Episode number 35 of the Plume Cast. If you are kind of confused by that number, last week I said it was episode number 33, but I was off. It was episode number 34, so there is not an episode missing somewhere in the mix. This is actually episode number 35, and last week was episode 34. So thank you guys all for stopping by this week. Thank you if you've watched my videos throughout the week. I'm appreciating the support. It's been another just a great week of stuff to talk about, and there's a lot more to talk about that I'm going to go over within this podcast. This is my weekly gaming podcast. If you're new to this channel, I make daily videos throughout the week, and then on Sunday I put out a podcast and talk about stuff that I didn't get to. Usually talk about a lot of non-Xbox stuff as well as Xbox stuff on this podcast, but during the week mainly focus on Xbox related content. So thank you guys for stopping by. And yeah, let's jump into what I'm drinking this week. And I am drinking a sour beer, and it's from Muskoka Brewery. It's called Smoothie Sour. It's 7% alcohol, and it's with passion fruit and mango. And I just recently kind of discovered sour beers, like I want to say a couple of months ago. I hadn't really had too many of them, but definitely enjoying sour beers nowadays, whereas before, if you would have asked me if I had drank sour beers before, I probably wouldn't have even known. But now I see what the hype is about. Even these like nice fruity refreshing ones, it's different. Like it depends what kind of mood you're in. Generally, if like I want to just have like a nice refreshing beer and I want to just have that beer taste, I don't go for a sour one. The sour one's more, it's like kind of like a treat for me, at least. That's how I feel. It's not heavy or anything, but it's more of like you don't really mix it with anything else. I find like you're not going to be eating chips with it or anything. That's the way I'm doing it right now with these beers. But maybe, hey, I'm missing out if you're a pro sour beer drinker and you have some food that goes good with it. Let me know in the comments below. And as you always, let me know what you guys are drinking in the below. In terms of the games I've been playing this week, it's been multiple games, which seems to be the theme right now for me in January. So I'm just going to pull up my list here so I remember, because I've played like 3 or 4 games. So Guardians of the Galaxy. I started Guardians of the Galaxy actually just last night or 2 nights ago, and I'm about 5 hours in. I'm on chapter 6. And so far so good. It's a really, really well done game. Like graphically, it's incredible. It's one of the best games I think I've played so far, especially with the facial stuff. Like the facial animations are absolutely incredible in that game, and the character models and everything, it's blowing me away. It's definitely makes sense why it looks so good, because it's 100% just a cinematic game. Like it's the big draw to Guardians of the Galaxy, at least for me so far, that I've seen, is the story, the banter, the dialogue, the voice acting. It's really, really good. Like I would say, I know people have said this, and I was skeptical at first, but I believe them now so far within my first 5 hours of playing. It's on par, if not better, than the movies in terms of the acting and the dialogue. It's really well done. And although these characters aren't the same Guardians that are like the same actors that are from the movies, I find some of these guys potentially better. Like it's really, really good. Now, the way I look at this movie so far, or movie, see, I'm even saying movie, that's how cinematic this game is. And it could completely change. I mean, like I said, there's 16 chapters. I believe it's about a 16 or 15 hour game. And I'm on chapter 6. So I'm about 5 to 6 hours in. And it's definitely not like the biggest gameplay focused game. It's a game that you throw on there and you're going to be entertained just from the cutscenes and the dialogue. I think more so than the actual gameplay itself. The combat's fine. It's fun. You have different abilities that you can unlock. You can upgrade different perks for your suits and just for general gameplay throughout, and like health and stuff like that. And that stuff's great, but and as you're fighting, like you only control Peter. Well, you don't control any of the other characters, but you can command them to use their special attacks within battle. And then you definitely have to like know when to utilize these attacks in order to take out certain enemies. So there's that part of the combat, which is good. But overall, it's like, it's fun, but it's not like a game if you're looking for deep gameplay and like a deep RPG or something like that. That's not what it is. It's like a movie with gameplay. But it's good. Like, it's really well done. And if you're a Marvel fan, if you're a fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I highly recommend checking this game out so far, even though it's only been played it for about 5-6 hours. And I loved the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, #1 more so than #2, but so it was really awesome. And the music's incredible. So it's like that whole atmospheric thing you get from the movies with like the great soundtrack, and how that plays in to when you're playing through the game is really well done. So I'm very happy that I've started that. I'm going to probably try to finish this game by like Monday, maybe Tuesday. I'm going to just try to power through it, because it's one of those that I think you can finish over like a weekend or something. But yeah, so fun time there. Been playing Mortal Kombat 11 that came onto Game Pass just relatively recently, and wow, what a game, what a fighting game. Like, I was blown away at how good this game is. I hadn't played a Mortal Kombat game, not sure when even the last one I played them growing up as a kid, and I played a couple on the 360, but haven't played one in a long time. Like, I didn't play Mortal Kombat 10. Now we have here Mortal Kombat 11 on Game Pass, and man, if you like fighting games, it's extremely fun. And even if you just want to play through the story mode, it's pretty much just a movie that you get to watch and throw in some fights in there. And there's so many other game modes. Like, there's like the tower, which is a lot of fun to play. The online stuff. Like, I played, I had my first just online match the other day. It was just casual, and the guy was on mic, and I'm pretty sure like it was just like a kid, I think, just like talking shit to me on mic. I wasn't on my mic. I could just hear it through the TV, and he whooped my ass like 6 times in a row, but I just kept going to do the rematches to see if I could improve and stuff. And he had over like 200 matches or something. But even getting my ass kicked every single time, it was just fun getting better progressively, like a little bit every single match. And the fighting mechanics are just spot on. I love the gore. I can't lie. I love the gore in Mortal Kombat. And yeah, just an incredible fighting game. If you're a fighting game fan, definitely 100% check this game out. Besides that, Forza Horizon 5, been jumping back into that. I always go back into Forza Horizon 5 and spend maybe like 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, just doing random stuff. It's just always fun once you jump in. There's always something to do. And yeah, I mean, we've talked about Forza Horizon 5 for a long time now. We don't need to really go over that. We know how good that is. Besides that, I play a little bit of MLB The Show as well, with Road to the Show, and just playing some games with my character. So been a fun week of gaming. Been playing a lot of stuff. Going forward, I'm going to finish Guardians of the Galaxy, probably play some more Mortal Kombat, and then figure out what I'm going to be jumping into next. I still have Black Friday games that I purchased on sale that were cheap that I want to play. Like, I still want to play Tales of Arise. That's a game that I've been waiting for just a time where I can really just focus on that game. And I think it may be coming up. I know February is loaded, but I may have like a week or two where I can really just focus on it. I may not fully beat it within that week or two, but at least get a bunch of hours in and then still have that game there on the side. But we'll see what happens. I think that may be next game I jump into as like my main focus game. I always have my main focus game, which right now is Guardians of the Galaxy, and then I always play some stuff on the side as well. But let me know in the comments below what you guys have been playing, and anything you're looking forward to coming out the next couple of weeks or so. So in terms of topics this week, I'm going to be talking about a decent amount of stuff, and I'm not going to really tell you what that is right now, because I'll have all the time stamps in the video when you guys are listening or watching this, so you skip whatever you don't want to listen to. So we'll just jump directly into this. Here we go. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is Killer Instinct. I know Killer Instinct is a game that a lot of people want to see, and I'm talking about this one first because, as I mentioned, I was been playing Mortal Kombat 11, and I'm not very good at fighting games. I have played fighting games in the past. Like, I've played a decent amount of Street Fighter. I've played King of Fighters. I played Blaze Blue. And I like fighting games. Like fighting games, although I'm terrible at them, they have a very soft spot in my heart just from when I played them growing up, like playing Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, growing up as a kid. And I have fun just jumping in, playing against friends, going online, getting my ass kicked, playing through the story modes and all of them. And I think a Xbox fighting game such as Killer Instinct needs to come back. They need to bring this game back as soon as possible. I feel like if they do, they'll be just completely surprised of how well it does. And I would love to see Killer Instinct come back. We had it with the Xbox One launch, and I think it was one of the highlights of the Xbox One launch, especially because the launch in general wasn't very good. But we look at Killer Instinct and we look at Nintendo and we look at PlayStation, and both platforms have their exclusive fighting games, whether they're third party or they're first party. So PlayStation, for example, a Street Fighter, they have that deal with Street Fighter. I played Street Fighter 5 on the PS4. I enjoyed it. When it launched, it was pretty bare bones. That was the biggest issue with it, but I actually liked the game itself, the fighting mechanics, all that stuff. Played a decent amount of Street Fighter 4, like way more Street Fighter 4 than the Street Fighter 5 on the PS3 than I did playing Street Fighter 5 on the PS4. And but Capcom, it has that exclusive deal. So the upcoming Street Fighter game, PlayStation, right? It's probably not going to be on Xbox. I'm not sure if Street Fighter 6 or anything. I don't think they've announced anything. I could be wrong on that. But it most likely will be exclusive to PlayStation. And then you think about Nintendo, Super Smash Brothers, right? Like obviously one of the biggest fighting games in the world, one of the most popular ones. And it's an incredible fighting game. Now, it's not like the same as like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but it's an incredible game in the fighting genre. And then you think of all the third-party fighting games that are out there, but they're multi-platform. So I think Xbox really needs to bring that genre to Xbox Game Pass and have it exclusive. And Killer Instinct can easily be that title that people will be excited for and that people will want to play. And people will pick up an Xbox or get into the ecosystem just to play Killer Instinct. I truly believe that. Now, there was a vague rumor going around. This is from Jez Corden, I believe. I'll make sure. Yep, from Jez Corden. And it's a very, very vague rumor. He says, take it with a huge grain of salt, as there is no really like evidence of this other than what is said here. So it says, during a previous Xbox Era podcast at the 1 hour and 24-minute and 24-second mark, noted Xbox caster Special Ed said that he'd heard a Killer Instinct reboot may indeed be in the works. And just says, I haven't been able to ascertain for sure whether it's indeed true at my end, but Nick has a solid track record on his sourcing. There are some other hints that Microsoft may be exploring the fighting game scene, though, and you have the evidence of how they recently hired Aaron Peppergerdes, who is an executive now at Xbox Game Studio, but previously was at NetherRealm and worked on Mortal Kombat. And then he goes on here to say, I have also heard the vaguest of unsubstantiated rumors that one of Bandai Namco's fighting game development teams may be involved. And although I haven't been able to independently verify that yet myself. Now, Bandai Namco making Killer Instinct, let's say they just contract them out, and even it'll still be like, they'll still keep it as an exclusive IP on Xbox, makes a lot of sense because of the other games that they've made. So Soul Calibur, and Tekken, like two just incredible games. Soul Calibur, I played the most recent one. I actually got it when it first came out, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I remember back, I think it was the Xbox 360, PS3, and GameCube. No, wait, that doesn't make any sense. GameCube, PS2, and original Xbox days where Soul Calibur came out, and they had their special character on each console. That was really cool. And then Tekken. I mean, Tekken, I'm not big into it right now. I haven't been for a while, but Tekken was huge for me growing up. Like Tekken 2 and 3, two games that I played so much of. And Bandai Namco makes incredible fighting games at the end of the day. So them working on Killer Instinct, I think, would be a good thing. And it makes sense for them to go outside of their current studios, I guess, based off of what we've heard. Phil Spencer saying things like it's just been hard to find a studio and I guess the resources in order to make this game. So them venturing outside of the current Xbox game studios to make it would make sense. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, it's a very unsubstantiated rumor, so it may absolutely be untrue. But I just really think there are two genres Xbox is missing right now within their ecosystem that will just round out that portfolio perfectly. Fighting, Killer Instinct, and 3D platformer. I know we got Psychonauts 2, but Psychonauts 2 is also on other platforms and other ecosystems. But they need like that one mascot type of thing. And maybe Raz could be that going forward, but they also have the main one that everybody wants, yet they just continue to some reason push it away. I'm not sure why. Maybe because Rare just doesn't want to do it, but you don't even need to get Rare to make it anymore. You can get somebody else, and that is Banjo and Kazooie. Like, imagine they got Double Fine to work on Banjo and Kazooie based off of what we've seen with Psychonauts 2. I mean, I would be okay with them doing that because Psychonauts 2 was an incredible 3D platformer, and they got to bring those two genres back, and the portfolio within the Xbox ecosystem will be just, I think, fully rounded out and fully complete. Plus, like, I mean, they still want to get JRPGs stuff, right? That's the other one, but that's sure, I love JRPGs, but I think that would be more of a focus to get a bigger foothold in Japan. And I think for that, they're going to want to get developers within Japan in order to make those. I think that's something along the lines that Phil Spencer was hinting at and talking about, especially when they acquired Tango Gameworks. He was super excited to go over there and meet with the studio and then, I guess, see what else, other business they could drum up. But yeah, I do want to see Killer Instinct come back. Like I said, fighting games just, for some reason, although I'm terrible at them, they just have a soft spot in my heart. I enjoy them. I have fun. And whether I play them for 5 hours or 50 hours, it's always just a good time. And it's great when you have people over, you have friends over, and you just get into funny games like Marvel vs. Capcom. I mean, I played so many times that game with just friends, and we'd have nights of just playing. It's always a great time. I would love to see Killer Instinct come back, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I wouldn't mind this rumor being true, but like you said, very unsubstantiated, so take it with a grain. We'll move on here from Killer Instinct and the rumors with that, and we're going to go to something that is very great to see, I think, for the industry and just for gamers in general, and that is God of War coming to PC. Now, God of War on the PlayStation 4 for a lot of people was like one of the greatest games they've ever played, or at least the greatest game of that generation. I played through God of War. I loved it. I thought it was a very, very good game. If you haven't played God of War before and you're wondering what all the hype is about, I recommend going and checking it out because it's a good story, amazing graphics, and great gameplay. All of those things wrapped up into just one great package. And now, as we've been seeing with PlayStation recently, they are releasing more games on PC, which is, I mean, great for gamers and a smart move by PlayStation. They did the same thing with God of War, and it just was very successful, reaching 65,000 peak concurrent players since its launch, which is a huge number, especially for a single player game. Think about that. 65,000 people are playing this game alone by themselves, not they don't need friends or anything. So it's very successful, and it shows it's going to show Sony, it's going to show PlayStation just the amount of money they can make by putting their games on PC. Now, yes, this game is old, 2018, right? When it came out. We're in 2022. They released it 4 years later, so this is going to go one of two ways, I believe, and it's going to be either they see this and they go, well, look, we don't ever have to release our games on PC at the same time we release them on console, because we released them 4 or 5 years later. We're just going to be able to make a bunch more money off of an IP or off of a game that was pretty stagnant in the amount of money we were making. Everyone had already bought it. Everybody had already played it, and we can revitalize it. That'll be one way they look at it. Or they're going to look at it the other way and say, we can release this on PlayStation. We have a huge install base already, and we can release it on PC at the same time. And the amount of profit and numbers we're going to make right away is going to be so big, and it's going to really just make our shareholders and our investors and all that kind of stuff, and it'll just make everybody within the company happy to see, right? So I think it's going to go one of two ways, but right now it looks like Sony is leaning towards releasing their games on PC years after they come out, which as a consumer is not a good thing. I don't care what side of the aisle you are on. If you are a PlayStation hardcore fanboy and you think that keeping games locked exclusive to a console is a good thing for video games and for PlayStation, you're wrong. And it's so obvious when you see stuff like this. It's so obvious when you see just the turnaround that Xbox has had, and PlayStation is going to see this. They're going to see this with the numbers, like with the amount of money. I've said this so many times, and it continues to kind of show through the numbers that we're seeing that it doesn't matter whether you release your game on another platform, PC specifically, and on your console. People are still going to go out and buy your console. It's not, exclusives are just a marketing ploy for the company. That's all it is. It is nothing to do with making the console like just a better platform for the consumer. It's just a marketing ploy. And when I say it doesn't make the console a better platform for consumers, it's because if you could play this game, it's not going to improve like the power or the features of the console because the console is, or because the game is exclusive. If you can play this game on PC as well, it just opens it up to more people. The company makes more money, and people are still going to go out and buy PS5s. Let's say they release Ragnarok on day one on PC. People are still going to run out and buy PS5s to play Ragnarok. They're not going to just be like, oh, well, it's on PC, I don't need to play it. Because many people don't have a PC that will even be able to run Ragnarok. And to get a PC that's going to be able to run these next generation games is going to cost you thousands of dollars, like at least probably like $1,600. In Canada, probably like $2,000. Maybe I'm over exaggerating, I'm not really sure, but like at least $1,500, I'd say. And consoles are there because they're convenient and they're cheap and you get to play all the stuff you want to play. It's not because that's like the main reasons why people buy consoles. I think there's this like notion that people think the majority of people that buy a console is because they want to play exclusives, when we've seen that the majority of games played on consoles, on Xbox and on PlayStation, are third-party games. So it's just, I don't know. For PlayStation's perspective, I guess they still have this mentality that they need to keep games in order to like appease their fan base. So that's what I see when I look at this stuff, when they don't want to release it on PC, because they release it on PC the same day they release it on console, they're going to make so much more money. And overall, it's just better for the gaming industry. It's better for the consumer. So wait and see what happens. One of the interesting things, and by the way, I'm sorry that my is looking super dark right now up there, but I don't want to cut it and break the pace of this right now, so I'm just gonna leave it. You don't even really need to see my my ugly face. You guys know what it looks like. But when it comes to games coming to PC, this was a really interesting thing to read, and it comes from Corey Barlog. I know who he is. It's a Balrog or Barlog. Barlog. There it is. Okay. He's the director of God of War, and he says that. It says PlayStation developers badgered Sony to bring their games to PC. So during a Game Informer interview published to coincide with the PC release of God of War, Santa Monica Studios creative director was asked how much insight his team had into Sony's decision to bring the game to the platform and whether they were championing it from an early stage. His response: I think it was a collective of studios all over saying this is a really good idea. We should be looking into this. Eventually, I think it reached that tipping point when we had sent so many suggestion box suggestions that they were like, I'm tired of hearing all this. Fine, we'll do this. And that makes it's hilarious to read, because a lot of people like think that this is the way I see it, is like, if you're like a huge fanboy of PlayStation, you probably think that like these developers of Santa Monica and stuff are huge just fans of PlayStation as well. Like they're just like so dedicated to the platform, and they only want their stuff on PlayStation. Now I'm sure they love Sony. I'm sure they love PlayStation probably because I mean it's their livelihood, and they probably I don't know how much they make, but I'm sure Corey Balrog makes a decent amount of money, or Barlog makes a decent amount of money. But there's no way you're telling me if you're somebody who's creating art, which is what video games are, you want to restrict the amount of people who are going to play and see your art, right? And I would bet that the majority of the developers in all of the first party PlayStation studios would rather have all of their games on PC, well, because they know way more people are going to play it and way more people are going to see just what they have created. So that's, I think, the reality of it. And Corey, he kind of confirms that here with that quote that they had continuously suggested to Sony, but Sony, the corporate overlord, right, didn't want to do it for one reason or another. And maybe Sony has like, maybe they have all these statistics and all of these stats and all of these numbers that somebody like me or somebody like you who don't work, who aren't in the boardrooms and the corporate, with the head guys would understand. But maybe to them, maybe it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I don't fully get it. But it's obvious that just like the business dudes that probably don't really play the games or probably aren't that big of gamers are stopping more people from experiencing PlayStation games. That's kind of what I see when I read that. And of course, I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion on it. But, you know, if all of the studios continue to badger Sony to put their games on PC, we may start seeing more of their games, which I think it's already Horizon, Days Gone, God of War, the Last of Us. Is it coming to PC? I forget. But Uncharted, I believe, is coming. So, but they're all older. But maybe at some point, especially when they start looking at the financial numbers and comparing it to Microsoft and seeing how much an Xbox game, first party game, is making on day one versus how much their PlayStation game is going to be making, comparing it to like, okay, so Xbox is making this much. They're just, I don't know if they'll probably have a rough estimate or they'll just be guessing, but Xbox will be making this much on console plus these numbers on PC through Steam and all that type of stuff. Whereas we're only going to be making this much just from PlayStation 5, but we want to be making money from every stream. And maybe at that point, once they clue in, and once they realize that they've pushed and they've squeezed out that marketing for exclusivity as much as they can in terms of dollar value, they may eventually start releasing their games day one on PC. And I don't know. It's I think for me it's a no-brainer. For most consumers, it's a no-brainer. And if you're somebody out there who's just so dead set on like exclusives still today in 2022, I mean, I used to be like that back in the day, but I've completely changed my view on it. It's, for me, I've always thought like, what do I gain? I mean, not always what I think now, not what I thought back in the day, but I think, what do I gain if somebody else doesn't play a game? Nothing. You gain absolutely nothing. And with saying that, I understand the business side that has to be done. Like, you can't just put it on everywhere. I understand why Xbox has an ecosystem, why they still can't put like Halo on PlayStation or Starfield on PlayStation. I get that, because if the other companies aren't willing to play ball, you can't do that, or you just won't. You may not survive, right? But the ecosystem strategy that Xbox has come up with, so they can still push their games out to multiple people across multiple platforms, while still, even at the same time, being able to use that exclusivity stuff for marketing, I think has been great for the gaming industry. And hopefully Sony eventually goes along those lines. You just got to put it on PC. You don't need to put it on Xbox. You don't need to put it on PlayStation, the exclusive stuff. You just need to put it on PC. Put it on PC, and the majority of people will at some point probably be able to check this out. And then the cloud stuff really opens it up to everybody. But very successful launch on PC for God of War, and apparently it runs incredibly too. So very cool, and hopefully PlayStation brings more of their games over sooner rather than later. Okay, we'll jump over here to this interesting article. And this comes again via just according to Windows Central, and it has to do with Xbox, what people want to see improved with the Xbox Series X and S. So he recently put out on Twitter asking people, he got over 1,000 replies with feedback. And he says, if feedback of an item appeared only once, I added it to an other column. But he says the vast majority of the complaints did in fact appear multiple times. And then he did a whole breakdown of what the complaints were. So we'll quickly just take a look at this and see what people want to be or want to see improved on Xbox 2022 and beyond. So the number one thing people want to see improved are game DVR problems with 17%. So for my understanding, I personally haven't had too many DVR problems, but from my understanding, it's just kind of, I guess, like the colors and compression and all that type of stuff and the resolution when it comes out, how their video clips are looking. And that's the number one thing that most people want to see improved. And I think that's a problem that is in the best interest of Microsoft to improve, because you give users tools to share just beautiful looking clips of games on Xbox. It's just a huge marketing thing that they get for free. So I don't see why they wouldn't improve that. I think they will. They're probably working on it. The second thing is Xbox OS problems. Let's just generalize, like trying to think of the OS problems I've had. And the only stuff I can think of is like sometimes games crash. Very rarely. Like it doesn't happen very often. It happened more at the beginning. They quickly added like stabilization to that. So can't think of too many other OS problems that have hindered my experience that much. But if you guys have been having big OS problems, let me know. Japanese game support at 14%. That's a big one. I mean, 14% of people want to see more Japanese games supported on Xbox. And I think Xbox is dearly trying hard for that. I really, really do. We've seen on Game Pass more JRPGs, even like older Square Enix stuff, Bandai stuff, and Dragon Quest, all that kind of, all those big JRPGs coming over. So they are trying to get Japanese game support. And I think this is a generation where by the time we get to the end of the generation, I think the support for Japanese games will be vastly better than it was at the beginning and way better than it was at the Xbox One. First party games improvements. Like, what does that mean? I have no idea what that would mean, in the sense, like, do they want more first party games? Do they want better first party games? Although I think Forza and Halo were both incredible games. They want bug fixes to the first party games. No idea what that means, but that's 12%. Achievement system improvements, 8%. That's something, yeah, I think that there could be some updates to the achievements at some point. I mean, the achievement system is still very addicting. It is still good, but they could add, I don't know, like maybe the ability to kind of track more where you are within achievements, because sometimes it doesn't always track. Sometimes some achievements have had issues popping. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what they would do with achievement system. I don't really think they need to go down the lines of a platinum trophy type of thing. That's just like copying PlayStation. I don't know. I currently am okay with the achievement system, but if they were to add things to make it more, there's more incentive to getting achievements, I'm all for it. We don't know what that means. Localization issues, that's definitely something that would be cool to see. More games localized in different regions. Family Pass for Xbox Game Pass, only 5%. I figured that would be a lot higher. I think a Family Pass for Xbox Game Pass is a must. I think they have to do something with the subscription, because more and more homes are going to have multiple Game Pass subscriptions, and having to pay, because I know you can share it across 2 consoles, I believe, like if you set one as your home. Let's say you have 3 or 4 consoles in your house and you want everyone to have their own Game Pass subscription. You should be able to have a family plan where you pay one fee, whether that's like, I don't know, $30 or something, or $25, and everyone gets access to it. I don't see why they haven't implemented that, but we will see. I think they're going to change up like the tiers of Game Pass at some point, especially with like the addition of EA Play that was on there. They added that to Ultimate. But let's say Ubisoft Plus. let's say that eventually comes into Game Pass, I think they're going to have tiers where maybe you get Ubisoft Plus on top of everything else. We'll see what happens. Xbox app problems. I don't know what that means. Maybe the app's crashing. Sure, that needs to be fixed if it's happening a lot. Xbox accessories problems. What they do need to fix. Now, I don't know if this is something they can fix or if it's just me, but when you have, like, I have a watch, Bluetooth, it interferes sometimes with my controller, I think, and my headset. Just taking a guess at this, but it's like my headset sometimes gets all staticky or disconnects. I have my watch on playing, and when I don't, it doesn't. And then my controller sometimes also just randomly disconnects. I think that they need to fix the Bluetooth, whatever the connection problems are going on with the headset and the controller. Cross-play problems at 2%. Cross-play problems. The only thing I can think about with that is with games like Halo, you should 100% not have to play with PC players, and the system level restriction needs to work across games. They have it in the system level, but apparently it doesn't always work within the game, which is very weird. Xbox Series S back compat quality. I don't get that one. I think the backwards compatible on Series S is very good, so I'm not sure. VR 2%. Well, we'll see. I don't think we're gonna get exclusive Xbox virtual reality. Marketing complaints at 2%. I think Xbox has had one of their best, if not their best, generation when it comes to marketing. Not perfect, but they've greatly improved their marketing. So those are all the categories for Xbox's feedback from Jez Corden's poll and Windows Central. So what do you guys think about that? What do you want to see improved with Xbox? We'll just leave that there. I thought it was pretty interesting to go over and quickly talk about. And finally, we'll end off today's episode with some Halo Infinite news, some good news, I think, for a lot of people. And it has to do with the shop. So Jerry Hook, as we know, is the head of design at 343. Has had this to say about the Halo Infinite shop, saying, "We've been monitoring the discussion on the shop, bundles and pricing closely since launch. Using data and community feedback, we're going to begin rolling out changes to how we package and price items in Halo Infinite. And it all starts next week. Starting Tuesday, the shop experience will vary week to week. We are focused on reducing pricing across the board, providing stronger values in our bundles, starting to put individual items outside of bundles and more. We will be trying new things throughout the rest of the season so that we can continue to learn and improve for the future. Please keep the feedback coming during this process, and I hope to see you all next week for the Cyber Showdown event." So, two things in there. They are making changes to the shop, which is cool. And then there is the Cyber Showdown event next week. I believe is here. It is here. It's just like the Fracture event. You're gonna get some cool items within this event as well. So I'm gonna be checking that out. I usually jump in when they put these events up to try to get all the items within them. But that's cool. Now with these changes to the shop, I was completely wrong on this. I thought that after the cat ear stuff they put out, and it seemed like everyone bought it, spent that $10 or whatever it was. We got cat ears and you got a couple other things. I thought they were going to look at the data on that and say, you know what, I know people are complaining about the pricing on the shop, but we don't need to change anything because we know no matter what we put out, we're going to be making a ton of money on that. And I was completely wrong. I was completely off base and wrong on that. And I'm happy that I was completely off base and wrong on that, because it looks like they, even with those numbers, and maybe they weren't great numbers, but it seemed like they were from the amount of people that had them, they are still going to be making the pricing change. Now, who knows what this means? Who knows what they're going to be doing? But I do like to see that they are going to be selling individual items. Like they're going to be reducing, well, actually, you know what? We do know what they're doing. They said here, they're going to be reducing the pricing across the board, which is great. They're going to give stronger value for bundles, also great. And what I really like to see here is starting to put individual items outside of bundles. So if you don't want to spend 10, they reduce the price, maybe $8 to get everything. All you wanted was the cat ears helmet. You spend $2 to get the cat ears helmet. I think that's something that will definitely improve this, and I'm very happy to see that going forward. And it also shows 343 as I've said, as many people have said, they listen to their community. They're always going to be improving. And the feedback you give with Halo Infinite isn't just falling on deaf ears. Like that's the main thing. Listening to it, like it's great to see, even with the amount of people that bought the Cat Ears bundle, they're still going to make the changes. So we'll see how that works. I have yet to buy a microtransaction with Halo Infinite. I generally never spend money on cosmetic microtransactions, and maybe the changes they make will break that streak for me. I'll have to wait and see. I doubt it, though. I'll be completely honest with you. I have the Battle Pass. I'm playing through the Battle Pass. Like, I'm fine with that. I'm not the biggest cosmetic guy when it comes to these games. I don't really care that much, if I'm being completely honest. But let's say they have some really just like unique things that pull on my heartstrings. Maybe I'll spend it, and maybe it'll be super cheap if they've priced them just individually, which is great to see. So I just wanted to end off the episode on that positive note there, and I'm excited to see what comes out of everything next week and what gear we get from the event next week as well. So I'm going to end that here. It's super dark right now in my room. Sun went down a lot faster than I expected, but again, great week. I will be out with some more videos this week. Thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for all of the support. Can't thank you enough. And I'll catch you in the next video.